Well, hi everyone, and welcome to season 4 of Behind Your Eyes. And in this second episode, Bev is my guest. So, Bev, if you like to say hi to everyone that's watching.
Hi, everyone. Just a little bit about me. I'm a relationship coach. In a sentence, I kind of teach people how to get what they want in their relationships, give their partners what they need, and then learn to cherish the depth of health, that healthy giving and taking bring in a relationship and connection. And I would say that's kind of my work in a nutshell. I live in Israel and I'm a mom, grandma. That's about it.
Well, it's wonderful to have you. And as always, I start with the same question, very sincere. How are you doing?
I love that question. Yes, I heard it before. I'm doing great. Thank you. It's a beautiful day here, and I've already had the opportunity to express some gratitude with my husband. So our day is going beautifully. Thank you.
Awesome. And as you said, you're a relationship coach, and you empower people to live with a deeper level of consciousness and authentic expression. But could you tell me a bit about like the journey, how you got to that coaching?
Right. So I guess probably like many therapists and coaches will tell you that we've always been that kind of person, the go-to person that people have come to.
Yeah.
How I got into hone it in relationships, I did a lot of other certificates before this one, before focusing on relationships, was my own journey. My husband took ill in the same year that both my parents passed away. And if the straight hair could stand up well, that's just kind of where I was. And I was sort of frantic. And we went to couples counselor after couples counselor. I would hire and fire, like some people buy shoes. And I couldn't understand why I was so frustrated. We would come in, I would present, my husband's the problem, where's your magic wand? Fix. And they would turn to him and kind of collude with me and say, yeah, here's the problem. Until I found the work that I do now, which is relational life coaching with Terry Real, which looks at both the partners and what you're bringing in as a team, that it's not about you and me, it's about us.
Yeah.
And that was so powerful for us. And that changed our lives. And that changed the course of our relationship. I study it in more depth than he does, but he's done some work with me. And yeah, it just, as I said to you, I'm also a mom and of course a grandma, and our children are watching us carefully. There's a legacy that gets passed on as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the two of us in this world.
And what were the struggles you were facing in that time period?
Excuse me. Well, I felt very adversarial, that he was the enemy. He was the one causing the family such heartache. He was the one who wasn't doing his bit. When I knew through all the years of our marriage and our relationship that he's incredibly generous, kind, giving, safe, and that he was ill, but I couldn't face that. And the minute I was brought on as a team member, you're in this, remember love, remember the person you're speaking to and want to make it better with. He's not your enemy.
Right.
He's he's the person you care so deeply with and you live with him. So you want to make damn sure that you're going to do your bit, lady. And it was just amazing when I was taken on board in that way.
Yeah,
I loved that.
Oh, that's fascinating, because did that also mean that you were in denial of his mental struggles, or wasn't it that the case?
Probably, yeah. I kind of saw it as personal, and you're doing this to me, and of course you're doing it to the children, and why, and why, and why. But as soon as the team was stressed to us, it worked like magic. He could become well, I could become, we could reconnect. It wasn't, it was so quick that this man who had given so much, it was so quick that I could suddenly make him into the enemy. It's kind of scary. It's really scary, actually.
And when you were, like you said, brought on that team, it wasn't you against him, but you were working together.
Exactly. If you think of our relationship as a home, we can throw all our garbage into the living area where we live together, right? And as the garbage piles up, we're going to move out of that room, right? And that's the same in relationship. One of us can scream, shout, and perform here, but you will be punished. Your partner will retaliate, punish you, withdraw. And that's the same. This is your common living area. You're living together. You want to clean it up and make it vibrant, not messy and dirty and an unpleasant place to be.
Yeah. So how did that strengthen your bond?
That understanding that it's not about two people on a different team, because when you think of two people on a different team, you begin to think of resources as being scarce. I need to protect myself. You are the enemy. Whereas when we're together, I can see we're in this together. This is our struggle. Let's see how we can resolve this together. Wow, there's an abundance, an attitude of abundance. We can bring in other resources who can help us. When any couple is stuck, the most responsible thing to do is bring in other resources. That's the ability to respond to the problem. It's not to say we're a weak couple because now we're stuck. It's saying a two-headed couple hasn't got the same resources that a three-headed team will have.
Yes.
It's kind of simple if you think about it. And those are the couples that really succeed when they understand that it's not a weakness. It's the ability to respond to what's going on. Because the strength in couples is not the issue. It's not whether I'm struggling with mental illness, you're struggling, your husband votes Democrat and you're Republican or whatever it is. That seems to be the problem. The problem is, how do we manage it? How do we manage this together?
Yeah, as a team.
Exactly. And that needs sometimes those outside resources to help you see, because you're so involved, you can't see the wood for the trees.
And does it also have to do with like the courage to ask for help and to maybe acknowledge that things aren't going well?
Right. So there are two aspects there. That's such a beautiful question. So the acknowledging, I'll start with that first, because that reminds me of in the first step of any 12-step program is coming to acknowledge that this addiction, whatever it is bigger than you. It's become your higher power. It controls you. You have no more control. And once you can accept that, oh, I can give up smoking tomorrow. Once you accept, no, I see this is stronger than I am, I need help, then you can start your journey of recovery. And
what I see a lot is that asking for help is still quite seen as a weakness, where I see it as a strength.
Right. So that's what I was going to say. So then there's the courage to take that, first step and say, okay, where am I going to find, and to always surround ourselves with people who support relationality, being in relation. We don't live in a society that often encourages that. And that's exactly what you're saying. It's seen as a weakness to ask for help, but actually we're wired for togetherness. We, in our mother's womb, we start off together. And that's how we thrive. That's how we create. That's how we are more powerful, when we can be together, not separate. And see resources as limited.
Yeah, because society for a long time has been quite individualistic, and where people were just, it's me, myself, and I. Do you
Very
see
much encouraged by the feminist movement. The feminist movement says, I was weak, now I'm strong. I don't need you.
Right.
Whereas I want to say, I was weak, now I'm strong. We do this job together. How can we support each other? How can we be relational?
Exactly.
It's not just about me. I'm so strong, I'm going to go overseas, do my own thing. No. Life is so much richer and healthier in relationship with all its challenges.
And there's such empowerment and strength in that togetherness.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and you said you bring couples back into a healthy connectedness. And what are some of the ways that you teach couples with that?
Okay. So one of the things that I think couples expect, that I hear a lot, is, why should I have to tell him, let's say it's a heterosexual couple, why should I tell him, if he loved me, he would know what I need?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that is part of the magic sauce, that I want something,
Mm.
and how can I ask you, how can I help you give me what I need? So I'll give you an
Mm.
example from my own life. Recently, after so many years married, my husband says to me, when you stack the dishwasher, could you put the blades face down? I'd never thought about it. And it means nothing to me if they're up or down. So I said to him, sure, if that's what you'd like, I'll do that, right? Why? Because we want to
Yeah.
give them what we can, right?
Mm. Yeah.
And I promptly went on to forget that and put them blade up.
Mm.
To which he remarked in some sort of sarcastic way about, I asked you and you haven't done it. I said, you know what I'm going to need? Firstly, I need you to ask me again in a softer tone, more gentle tone.
Yeah.
And secondly, I might need you to remind me a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And just having said that, he's never had to remind me, but to
Mm.
encourage him to come on board,
Right.
which he was willing to do. And I told him how I want him to do it in a
Mm-hmm.
nice tone, the tone I
Yeah.
want him to use. I remember now. I know
Yeah.
each time that when I do the dishes or whatever, that's how he likes it. So I'm happy to do it that way.
Yeah,
I know it
because
seems like a silly example, but our whole
yeah.
lives are with these little examples.
Yeah, because it would be easy to take that as offensive or like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah,
Beautiful.
but then you say, okay, I'm sure you have to remind me a few more times without getting angry. Like that part of communication
Exactly.
seems essential to me.
Right. And you just said a beautiful thing. I could have taken it to, well, then you just stack the dishwasher, right?
Yeah, right.
There's always, even if there is a criticism,
Mm-hmm.
if you pause a minute, there's always some truth
Yeah.
you can maybe look at. Some of it might be about him, right?
Mm.
Oh, you're perfectionist. Okay, da 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 da. But there
Yeah.
could be some truth, and that truth could be, oh gosh, maybe he's afraid someone could trip over the dishwasher and
Mm-hmm.
get stabbed. Okay, so I could see it as a criticism, or I could
Mm-hmm.
see, okay, maybe this does have a value. And it means
Yeah.
it's so unimportant to me that I'm happy to do it for him. It's
Right.
easy for me to do it. Let me put it that way. We
Mm.
can't give each other everything.
No.
Can't give each other everything. If he said to me, and I want you to go to psychotherapist 5 days a week, and I want you to apologize to me all the times that
Mm.
you haven't done it, da, da, da. I'll say, wow, what can I do right now? He said, you can
Yeah.
stack them, say face down. Then I can say that I can give you right now. I'm
Yeah.
not going to commit to going to therapy for whatever, 5 days a week. I'm giving you a ridiculous example, of course, but
Yeah. And also, I've read on your website that you said, I encourage my clients to stand up for themselves with love while cherishing their partner at the same time. And I thought it was so beautiful. And why is that so important?
for this very reason that we were speaking
Hmm.
about now, that sometimes our tone can be so harsh and
Hmm.
critical or
Yeah.
controlling or retaliatory.
Yeah.
And it never, we do those things again and again. I call them losing strategies, and they never get us what we want. They never
Hmm.
get us the closeness we're longing for. So, another tip, if you like, that I've noticed, be under every criticism or complaint,
Hmm.
you never take out the garbage before we go to bed, is actually a request. And if
Mm.
you put that into a request and you keep to your side of the line, I really like going to bed knowing that you've taken the garbage out by
Mm.
9 o'clock. Would that
Yeah.
be okay with you? And then the response could be, yeah, you know what, I'll do that 3 times a week. Will you take on the other 4?
Mm.
So there comes negotiation,
Yeah.
right? You don't necessarily get everything you want. That's okay.
Yeah. And it's the tone in how you say it. It really completely shifts the conversation.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
When you speak on from your point, your side of the line, as I call it,
Hmm.
nobody can argue with that. I
Yeah.
feel so anxious when you drive so fast. When I'm in the car with you, would you mind slowing down?
Hmm. Yeah, you can't argue with that.
Exactly. You know, that
Yeah.
your partner could say, well, then I'd rather take a taxi, or rather when we're together, you do the driving. But that's
Hmm.
negotiation. That's all okay.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Or what if someone isn't open for negotiation?
I'm trying to think of an example. Can you give me an example?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like if there are, yeah, when you, like the example you just give, like, oh, I get anxious when you drive too fast, and they just get into an argument, or they want to like fight about it, or say, oh, well, you think I'm not doing it right, or
right. And that's actually a beautiful example, because that comes into another level of listening.
mm-hmm,
When I tell clients, listening isn't necessarily a conversation.
mm-hmm,
So you can think about it like this. If I go to customer service because my microwave isn't working, and I say, look, lady, my white microwave isn't working, and she says to me, you think you've got trouble? My toaster doesn't work,
mm-hmm.
right? That's not going to make me feel heard and listened to.
Yeah.
So we can say to our partner, I want to say something. Please don't comment, don't judge. I just want
Mhm.
to say, and then I want to hear you.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily, so I'm going to say, I get anxious when you drive. Oh, but please, you drive like a snail. It's not a conversation, a dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking you to listen to me. I get anxious. It makes me feel scared. Would it be okay when we drive together? Da, 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 da.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you might need to initially sometimes set the background for how you want somebody to listen to you.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
Again,
and
like the
then
tone of communication is essential in that as well.
right. So I'm gonna say something. Please don't comment right now. I'll tell you when I'm finished, and I'd like to hear from you. And then he
Mm-hmm.
might say, that's just not gonna work, or I feel you're too anxious. And then, so what should we do about this? Because I really want to drive with you. The loving and relational answer will be, sure, honey, I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't
Yeah.
want you to feel anxious, right? Why? Because we want to remember love. Why? Because we live together, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We want to come back into connection and repair. Every relationship is about harmony, disruption, and repair
Mm-hmm.
again and again and again. And we want to keep coming back to the repair.
Yeah. And how do you stay mentally healthy, like as an individual, but also in your relationship?
Mentally healthy as an individual and kind of thing. So I do a lot of relationship insight, and within our relationship, we have our own gratitude practice every
Mm-hmm.
day. At the end of the day, we close our day with a few things of what we're grateful for, very often about something that the other has done that made us feel grateful. Mentally, I think what I encourage clients to do is what I also call mindfulness living relationally mindful, something like that, right? Mindfully relationally, by taking a pause sometimes before you respond.
Mm-hmm.
And that only happens with sort of a meditative prayer, contemplative sort of practice in your day. So I will go to a Pilates class, I'll do a walk, whatever, or I'll take some quiet time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can call on those resources
Mm-hmm.
when you need them. That doesn't mean I don't get triggered. Of course I get triggered, and
Mm-hmm.
of course we can with each other, but that we can come back into harmony that much quicker today.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of your favorite ways of self-care?
I would say exercise.
Mm-hmm.
I've recently started playing tennis. I mean, I enjoy Pilates. I enjoy so much being with my grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
That's,
Yeah.
even as I said, I can feel my whole insides just sort of jumping with joy. It's such a beautiful experience to love so unconditionally,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and to be able to give without it's a bottomless pit of love.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, what would you advise people who are currently struggling in their relationship? Like maybe there are some tools or techniques they can immediately use, or
Right. So I would advise a few things. If you need an outside resource, turn to one. And that means either a men's group, a women's group, some kind of support group you might need, a therapist, a coach. It could also be a friend.
mm-hmm.
A friend, but sometimes we also need skill.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just good enough. And usually a friend is a back and forth. You need somebody where you feel non-judged.
Mm-hmm.
On a lower level, there are books. There are books are like really I put everything underneath getting resources from other people, because together we co-regulate each other.
Mm-hmm.
Below that, if you feel speaking to someone is a little bit threatening, to get a book, to participate in a course. Terry Real, in my opinion, offers a magnificent courses. Staying in love, fierce love, or staying in love, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
There are many courses you can do out there, video courses that might give you the courage to take on the next step, and then to encourage your partner to join you in reading the book, in doing the courses, and of course in speaking to someone if that's what you need, or joining a group.
Yeah. And now these last few years, people had to work at home, stay inside a lot more, and which of course had an impact on all our relationships. And is is there a shift happening in the awareness of how we carry ourselves in relationship with others because of the fact that we had to stay indoors and with each other a lot?
Right. So I would say the answer to that is a spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, I think especially very young people, some of them lost the skill of communicating. And for other people, it drew them closer together. So I think everybody will come out of the corona, or has come out of it very differently. I don't think there's one paintbrush for everyone.
No, of course. But do you see there's more like an awareness of how we should carry ourselves in our relationships?
I think so. I think there was a lot of loneliness that came out. And by loneliness, I don't only mean loneliness as being by yourself. Within relationship, people felt lonely within their relationships.
Yeah.
And that began to be a place of exploration. How do we mend that? How do we heal? Really heal.
Maybe there's also like a spiritual shift happening
Oh
that
my
we
God,
have to go
absolutely.
within more. Yeah.
The spiritual shift is within the healing. When I can be vulnerable and open and truthful and not judged, that's magical. And that to me has a strong spiritual connection, or component, if you like.
And are you a spiritual person?
I'd like to think I am. I live a conventional religious life as a Jew. But I don't feel it's always married, that religion and spirituality are married. Religion is more about rules and community and contribution and receiving, whereas spirituality is this. And I feel a much stronger connection to that, especially because of my gratitude practice. It's just kind of expanded my mind to, wow, minute to minute there. If I stop and pause, what's just happened today? It's only like 2 o'clock in the afternoon for me. Wow, there's a lot I can be grateful for.
Yeah.
So,
and
then
can you give an example of your, okay, could you give an example of your gratitude
well,
exercise?
Just today, I dropped a grandchild off at kindergarten, and then I was supposed to be at the gym within 15 minutes, landed up in a huge traffic jam, 40 minutes long, so I couldn't get to the gym. However, there were 2 car accidents that were causing the traffic jam. So I'm grateful that I wasn't in the car accident. That the only thing that happened to me was that I actually missed my gym class.
Yeah.
And I couldn't go to the gym because it was a Pilates class and I hadn't put my running shoes on, so I couldn't even walk on the treadmill. Run on the treadmill, but I was going to an appointment near one of my daughters who happened to be home, so I phoned her. I said, I've got this like dead sort of space now. Are you home? And I pop in for a coffee. So that was lovely.
Oh, nice. A lovely surprise.
That's just a small bit of my day today.
Yeah, exactly. And you also mentioned that you do a gratitude practice with your husband as well. Like how does that, what does that
So
look
just
like?
today, I'd made part of his lunch, and he just wrote to me, "Had a beautiful lunch, thank you." And he packs a lunch. He's a physician, takes his lunch to work. And at the same time, he had picked up something for us for the weekend that I couldn't find in the supermarket. So just being able to, they're little things, but they just make you feel, it helps me see, it helps me see him in a better light than than I might have before. Before, it was easier to see what he doesn't do. You know, in every relationship, this is so important. In every relationship, there's a mourning, there's a grief of what you don't get. So, like I said, like I don't know what you do in the Netherlands in terms of voting, but let's say in the States, you could have a couple, one votes Democratic and the other's Republican, right? And they go out for dinner, and they're with a couple who are both Democrats. That's like a dagger in your heart, like, oh, look at them, they're on the same page, it's so beautiful. Da, 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 da. And the question to ask yourself is, am I getting more in the relationship that makes it worth my while staying than what I'm actually grieving that I'm not getting?
Right.
And your partner's not got the perfect person either.
Of course, no, there's no such thing as perfect.
You know,
Yeah,
but
but it's interesting that you say that every relationship has its mourning, its grieving. And I think sometimes that can be hard on a person because when you're, especially at first, when you're so in love and you only see the good things, and then later on, of course, you start to see a bit more the negative or the shadow side of the relationship. That sometimes it's hard to come to terms with that.
well, that's the harmony stage of I fall in love, but I don't have any knowledge. I don't know how he packs his sock drawer. I don't know if he leaves his clothes lying all over, or if he squeezed the toothpaste in the middle of the tube. Then we get into the stage where we have knowledge and there's no love. It really drives me mad the way he runs our bank account, or the way that the paperwork is all over the house. And then if we can do the repair and see there's more that I'm getting in this relationship than I'm not.
Yeah. And if it's the other way around, if you're not getting enough, then then it's time to question if you should stay.
Exactly. And with that as well, I would advise getting somebody in, another resource in, to guide you with that. Because, you know, there might be things you're not seeing. And there might be a good reason why it's done.
Yeah.
I'm not talking violence or anything right now.
And what is the best advice that you were ever given?
Best advice that I was ever given? I don't know. What's the best piece of advice I was ever given? I think I wasn't given it. I think I kind of saw it as I talked about this legacy going through, that my own in-laws, my husband's parents, were very, very welcoming of me. And I took that to the in-law children that I had, with whom I have a very close relationship. And I hike with one of my daughters-in-law. The other one will quickly run out for a cup of coffee. I just bumped my son-in-law today for a coffee. He was in the mall getting something. And I think that always made me feel that I wasn't the other. I wasn't the outsider. That was something beautiful.
So they taught you by example.
Very much so. Very much so.
Well, my last question is always the same as well. When are you at your happiest?
I'm at my happiest when I'm contributing and serving clients who when I ask them at the end of the session, you know, what's going on for you, what's coming up for you now, and they can say, I feel calmer, I feel I have direction, I know what the next step is that I should take. I would say that's probably one of my happiest moments. And then, of course, the hugs from the grandchildren are precious. Precious.
Lovely. It was amazing to talk to you today. Thank you so much for contributing to my show.
My pleasure. Is it Susanne?